to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. All right, this is a workshop for the water board for the township water department. Start tonight with a kind of roll call. You want to roll call, please? Here.
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 All right. Just so everybody's on the same page, in your packet today, I did give you each a copy of the two resignation letters. We had two board members, Barbara Delaney, that resigned from the board, along with Greg Bickus, who decided to walk away from this board. So, with that in mind, I think, first of all, I would ask any citizens here that want to approach the board and address the board here tonight. Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to first topic of discussion and a vote here tonight is the hiring of an attorney. The reason the two trustees stepped down from this, they're stating a statutory law that states that a person holding an elected office or appointed public office is not eligible to be appointed to a utility board. So I guess the discussion is this a public or private utility board? And it's my opinion that this is owned and operated, and it's the townships. We own it. Actually, the court case that we just got through last year indicated that we're one and the same. So, the township board, as the board of trustees, are responsible financially for the water district. So my opinion is that I cannot appoint a board to make up all the ideas of how to spend the money for this township if we don't have a vote on it, because we would be held responsible for whatever they do, and we wouldn't have a vote. So I think we need to get that clarified, so I would like to we've always had, I forget all the names.
It was McEwen for a long time, and then it was, for the last 20 years, it's been Rathbun, Cermak, and Colson.
Rathbun, yeah. But Carl Buck has been the attorney from that firm that has represented us. I would like to bring him on as our attorney. That's who I would like to appoint. I would like to have both of your input on this, though, also. Would you like to ask questions first, Carl? Because I know we've had that lawsuit, and I think we want to get into a discussion here about how it happened and what's the history. Would you guys want to do that first?
Yeah, I think we should talk maybe now.
Yeah, I'd like to hear. I know the lawsuit wasn't very favorable for us, and just it did state at the end that the town board and the water board were one and the same, and they didn't decipher between the two. So, what exactly does that mean? I mean, do we need a water board or a utility board, or could the township trustees, could that board handle the water department, or would we be in violation of the state statute that they're claiming?
Sure, Dean. That's a fair question.
Carl?
Oh, sure, okay. There's a little bit of history involved because, and I did have a chance to do a little bit of research with the aid of modern technology. So back in 1974, late 74, early 75, the township, under the township code, it didn't exist. I shouldn't say it didn't exist, but it didn't exist in the way that it currently exists. The ability of townships to create utility boards. Okay, the township code was fashioned in such a manner that you could own water systems, you could create water systems, and so forth. And that's the power that you still have today. Under the township code, you can own, operate, and maintain a water system within your township. And at that time, back in 1975, the reason for creating the Fairmont Water District was because you then went out and obtained bonds, and you then built that water system, so to speak. Okay? So I went back and I looked at that charter, that ordinance that created it, and your water system is, as it was described a few moments ago, it's a water system that is essentially part and parcel of the township. Under the ordinance that created it, and the practice of the township has been to have the township run the water department. You haven't operated as a utility board per se, okay? Now, under the township code, you have the ability to have created by ordinance a utility board. And if you did divest yourselves of the authority to manage the water department to the utility board, you could have done that. But it doesn't appear that that ever happened. Now, when we were in that litigation, one of the things that we argued was the contract that was at issue specifically said only the water department is responsible for the contract, the township is not. And the appellate court said no, because you are essentially one entity. Your township is your water board. We're going to find that the township is responsible for that bill, so that's why we ended up paying that bill. And the township ended up paying that bill. So that's kind of a historical perspective. So to answer your question, which is, should we or should we not have a utility board? Right now, as it stands, your utility board is essentially and practically, based on the ordinance from 1975, which is still in fact, operating as a water board under the township. So for the purposes of the legalities, the Will County State's Attorney has been contacted with respect to are we or are we not proper, and they said we don't have an opinion on that. The Attorney General was contacted with respect to that. The Attorney General said we don't have an opinion on that. If you are looking to address the current status of the township code and reconcile your 1975 ordinance, which you have, because remember, that ordinance wasn't passed until 1994, so you existed for 20 years before there was a law in the books that said, hey, if you're going to do this, this is how we want you to do it. Well, you already had an ordinance in place, and that ordinance was not supplanted by a later statute when you were already running that as a water department under the township, and that power never changed. So my recommendation to you would be to roll the water board lock, stock, and barrel back into the township and eliminate any doubt, because then at your township meetings, you can be addressing these water board issues, which are not really water board issues anymore. They'd be the water department of your township. And you'd eliminate kind of that, I don't want to say separate board, clearly authorized by the ordinance, clearly authorized by the statute, but the statute itself seems to have a conflict with entities like yourself that existed before that statute was put into place. And neither the Attorney General nor the state's attorney or anybody's willing to take a position on what that means for us. We've had a court case that dealt with it, so we have some implication from the court. They didn't address that question specifically, but they tacitly did by their interpretation of the contract. So you're clearly vested with the authority to run the water department. You have the ability to do it. You could certainly form a committee from the township. Township boards are allowed to form committees, so if you wanted to say, hey, we don't all want to be responsible for the day-to-day operation of the township. We want, Dean, you and one other township trustee are going to be the water committee, and you're going to report to the board on that committee. We'll make decisions as a board, but you guys are going to, tell us what's going on, just like you do with other types of committees that you have. You could do that. But my recommendation would be is that you revert. I hate to say revert because it doesn't. I don't know that it ever changed. But you kind of go back to your 1975 ordinance, and rather than have separate meetings, you conduct them all within the township meetings. It seems to be the most practical thing to do. There isn't a clear indication one way or the other, so it isn't really a black and white answer where I can say you're wrong. There's no indication that you are, because you existed for so long before there was any statute on the books to tell you otherwise.
So once there's an ordinance, it's always there, correct?
Yes, it is. It's kind of interesting because if you go back and you read this document, there isn't anything that says that we're going to be a utility board organized under the township code. Now, let's say you wanted to do it today. It's 2017. You wanted to build Fairmont. You didn't have Fairmont. You wanted to build it, and you wanted to create a utility board to do it and have bonds issued and so forth and do debt financing. Then you would have to follow that state statute because it now exists. When you did this, none of that existed. So there was no mechanism for you to do that, okay? It was not on the books. So keep that in mind as you analyze this. But there doesn't seem to be, even under the township code, because remember, the township code says a utility board, while it has the power to make decisions and so forth, the bills are still payable by the township. So if you were to appoint an independent board of no elected officials, and this is something that at some point in time it's going to come up, because you know as an elected official you cannot delegate your authority to spend or expend money, taxpayer money, right? You can't say, well, I'm going to proxy my vote to this person over here. You can't do that. That's against the law. So I don't know how they would expect you to create a utility board that could ever spend any money. It couldn't. Everything would be done by the township. So you're going to do everything anyway, so there's really no point in continuing on.
And just for your information, I found today, under the laws and duties and handbook from the Illinois officials, the Illinois book, under the area of township waterworks and sewage systems, it says under the powers of the Board of Township Trustees, Publications and Ordinances, Township Board has the supervision and control of the system and may make, enact, and enforce all necessary rules and regulations in connection with the acquisition of the system and its use. Rules and regulations of the established by ordinance. I mean, basically it's saying we have to run it.
And you do have that ordinance in place. Now, I would suggest that you amend it and update it once you roll the department back into the township and dissolve the utility board, which is not so much dissolving the utility board as simply placing the water department back on your township agenda. It's not very difficult to do. You'd have to move those accounts over so that they're, township accounts again, because the utility board has its own account, doesn't it?
They're reading Lockport Township, sewer and water.
Yeah, right.
So they basically are the township.
Yeah, okay, so that's obviously not going to be very difficult. And that's really it.
So because it's all the township, I mean, just like we sit, on the board, we have the senior, the town, so we could all just sit on that board, right?
Right.
Still.
Yeah, so it would
Because
be
we're
the township,
That's
would
what
not
we
be
elect
any
to do.
derivative
Right.
board, that's correct.
That's what we're elected to do. And if we don't do it, then we're derelict of our duty.
Yeah, it's your.
So there's no, I know the Supreme Court and all that, so, we're all one,
Right.
So there's no reason to go to judge or anything to,
I don't know.
because we're the township, we sit on the board.
I think that would be a colossal waste of money.
Let me do this then. What I would like to do is make the appointment tonight of your firm to represent the board and get us through whatever resolutions need to be written and get so we do it legally and across the board and everybody's understanding. Is everybody agreeable? Or do I'll make the motion.
Well,
right?
now
So-
the problem is, though, they resigned from it. So they really didn't resign, right? Because they're trustee. I know they resigned, but...
Right. They did, my understanding, and I haven't looked at their resignation letters, or I don't know.
And the agenda here. Anybody else? There's two, I guess. I got a couple extra agendas.
Ron, I just, been on this water board for 2 years now, and, since then, there's been a lot of questions as far as, why is the township in the water business, and we always talk, if there's a way to get out. And I don't know if that's something that, if we do hire an attorney firm, going through some of the old files, when the water was placed in the Fairmont community, we didn't have water. The water came from Joliet, the water came from Lockport. We didn't have treatment plants, and we still don't. They still treat the sewage. So the way I looked at it, we were kind of like the middleman. We collected the bills, and we paid Joliet and Lockport for the water. And going back even to the mid-'80s, the water department was in financial trouble. I mean, that's the reason why the Fairmont got the water, because of, they were one of the lowest income neighborhoods, I think, throughout the country. So the federal government stepped in and said, we have to do something down here, which they did, and it kind of got thrown on the township's hands, you know. Because I know there was agreements and such that at some point, when these bonds or whatever were paid off, or the financial debt, that the city of Joliet and the city of Lockport were going to come in and take over. I mean, they both have water departments, you know, whatever, public works departments. We don't, you know, we have to hire out.
Right.
And now it's gotten to be quite an expense, to where the money coming in is a set amount usually about every month. You're not going to get a whole lot more. There's no new tap-on fees. There's not a whole lot of building going on down there. So we're going to get this amount of money, and with the expenses that, yeah, you know, we're barely breaking even now. I mean, I know if you look at the numbers, sometimes it looks like we're doing okay, but there's, you know, it's an aged system. We're having a lot of issues, just like Joliet, you know, you read in the paper, Lockport replacing. We're going to have to do that. And my only concern is now that we are one, that the township may have to front the bill for a lot of that if there's not enough money coming in from the water bills. If we get a major issue, it's going to cost a lot of money, because we've already talked, you know, at prior meetings, you know, that eventually, you know, we may have to start replacing, you know, water mains, pump houses, whatever. And it's kind of like, you know, where's that money going to come from? So I'm just worried that, you know, there's more than just, you know, should we be a board or not a board? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's one of the issues. But the fact that, you know, if in fact, you know, there was agreements written up years ago where the city of Joliet, and like I said, the city of Lockport may step in and handle their portions of it. Why didn't that happen? You know, is there something, like I said, I was able to dig up papers from the mid-'80s where Joliet was taking the township to court because they couldn't even pay for the water that Joliet was supplying.
Right.
And it's, you know, I mean, somebody's got to supply the water for them. You can't just run away from it. You know what I mean? And that's, I know Ron's concern and my concern. You know, if I'm told that I can't serve on this board, then I won't. But like I said, if we could straighten this out and get to some kind of agreement where we still run the board and, you know, run this department, so be it. But, you know, state statute, I know what you're saying, that it didn't come into effect until after, you know, this board was already formed, or this, you know, so.
I guess two things. First is, in terms of the board, you know, keep in mind that I think that regardless of what you've called yourself, based on your own township ordinance and the way that you've operated, it's really been a water department of the township the entire time.
Right.
So I don't even know that that provision of the township code is even triggered, okay, as a start. Your question about did they resign from the board or did they resign from the utility board or the water department, it's really kind of unclear because of that distinction. Okay? They've taken the position that they're not going to take part in these meetings because they don't want to be in violation. That's their right to do that. You know, that's an interpretation. It's not an interpretation that is shared by the state's attorney or the attorney general, but that's their interpretation. They have a right to do that, of course. Your larger question, though, is what should we do with that asset? That's an asset of the township. Okay? Should it be sold? Should we divest ourselves of it? Should we, you know, negotiate with Joliet or Lockport? I do know. Now, I don't know the specifics of this, but I do know that at a point in time, those bonds came due. There was an agreement with the government to forgive those bonds. And I don't know, as a byproduct of the forgiveness of those bonds, what obligations Lockport and Joliet may have been required as a result of that. So I do think it would warrant a little bit of research, not a lot, but a little bit of research, and legitimately go ask Lockport and Joliet, hey, how do you feel about this? Because you're better suited to do this than we are. You know, how are we going to manage this going forward? And that's a responsible thing to do. So in terms of answering that question, I think that is the larger question, regardless of are you doing it or not. You've been doing it as the township. The water department's going to continue to exist within the township, regardless of what you call yourself. You're going to roll it into your township meetings, but then you're still going to have to deal with this problem, which is, do we or do we not stay in the water business? And if you don't feel that you have the ability to do that, then it is the responsible thing to find alternatives to deal with it. Period. And that makes complete sense.
I guess to stay somewhat focused, and I don't mind more questions than that, but let's get through this. I did make a motion. I need a second. Anybody want to second the motion to bring on Carl as our attorney for this, to get through all this?
Okay, if we hire an attorney, are we going to have them write an opinion as far as what they feel as far as us serving on the board? That's basically it?
No,
or
I
are
think
we going to have them look into other
I'd
issues?
like to get into the resolution of turning this all into us, so it's legal, and everybody understands that we are responsible. Whatever resolutions and ordinances we have to pass to bring it back to the original, I'd like to take care of that. And then, as our attorney, I guess we could bring him in on if we're going to investigate, having Joliet and Lockport take over, and see where we can go with it. I think the first question I need to get answered is, who's on this board? And then, let's take it from there and get things.
So once the resolution is set, then we're legally to sit on the board?
Well,
Or not really still? Is it still unanswered, I guess I want to say?
I really don't think it is, because what I'm saying is that your township board has been functioning as your water department. That's pursuant to your own ordinance from 1975, and you've never deviated from that. So whether or not there is another statute out there that would have allowed you to create a separate utility board, you never really did that by ordinance. So while that would theoretically encompass what you've been doing as the water department, you've always been operating as the water department. And that's never really changed. So practically speaking, what you would do going forward is on your next township board meeting, place on the agenda the water department. And anything that you would do here, you're going to do there.
On our next meeting, we can do that?
Yeah.
It's just
I mean, you could have been doing that since 1975, theoretically.
So then we're not illegal sitting on the board?
You're not.
right here. I don't mean to interrupt, but right here in the Township Code from recent book, operating and funding, or Township Waterworks and Sewage System, operating and funding. Any township having a population of less than 500,000, which we do have, may construct or purchase or operate a waterworks system or a sewage system or a combination of waterwork and sewer systems. We have that ability. We did that back in the 70s. It still stands that we can do that. Being on a utility board is another area of a utility board, like the Bonnie Bray water system. An elected official can't be on their system. It's a private system. Or the College View, they have a well system amongst the population. They have their own board. You can't be an elected official and be on that board because it's a privately owned utility board, and you can't be elected on that board. We own this.
Yeah, this is a publicly owned
This is
system.
publicly owned. We
So
bought
then
it.
we can be on.
Correct.
And it still says we can still do that in today's standards. So we bought it and paid for it back in the 70s through bonds. I know we were forgiven of those bonds. We never did really pay them. But we built the system. We own the system.
Regardless of what you call yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we can call it the Hagen Frank water system if that's what we want to do. We own it. And we're on that board. And if we're not on that board, then we're derelict in our duty, I take it.
I don't know who would be running it if the township did.
Yeah.
But we tried to get Lockport and Joliet.
Well, and I still think we should, I'd love to be able to investigate that and see if we could make that happen, but I know the attitude of both. Maybe we can convince them. Again, I've always had that opinion that they don't want anything to do with the Fairmont area right now. You put that new bridge coming through on Keaton Farm, Bruce Road, and they'll both be fighting for it.
Correct.
They'll be over each other's, try to get that property.
I know, I think recently, like, the village of Peatone, which is obviously a different situation, sold like their water system to a private entity. Kind of like the Homer water is run by that American,
yeah.
I don't know if it'd be worth us to
Oh, I definitely think it would.
visit something like that, if it's something that we really want to get out of.
Sure.
I've said from day one, if I can get out of the water system, I'd love to get out of the water company. I don't think a township needs to be running a water company. But until we're fiscally unresponsible, we actually sell it and get the paperwork done. If I'm going to be held responsible for the funding or the bills of the water department, I want to vote. I want to be on that board.
Sure.
I mean, your take, Carl, on, us appointing a separate board isn't, necessary. I mean, we can serve as a water
I think
department.
that's our question. We're so,
And that's
that's a big question.
Like I said, being accused of violating
Yeah.
state statute is pretty serious, and obviously, I don't know how we're going to address it. I mean, are we going to get something? I mean, is your firm can write us an opinion or write us something like that? Is that what we're getting at?
I guess,
Ron? Or
I
is
think
it
it's what...
kind of like a verbal thing
I
that.
believe what Dean is going after, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, you want something in writing stating that, yes, we can be on this board that's accepted by everybody.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I know that, we did receive a letter from the state's attorney stating that they were not going to provide an opinion, which, like I said, is kind of confusing, because if somebody's accusing you of something like this, you would think they would at least offer something. But I know the Attorney General sometimes will consider something if it's brought to them by the state's attorney. Have you ever heard anything like that?
Every once in a while, the attorney, I shouldn't say every once in a while, the Attorney General does issue advisory opinions, okay? But the advisory opinion that you're asking for, I think it's fairly black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we're talking about are really two separate things. You have been operating as a water department under your ordinance, and essentially not as a utility board as it's described by the township code. That's where the distinction lies. And I think that what you're asking for is for something right that says, why is that? Why is that? And what we did is I tried to find an ordinance that said, hey, under the township code, utility board section, we're going to pass an ordinance, the township is going to pass an ordinance where we divest our authority to this. Well, that ordinance doesn't exist. And it doesn't exist because at the time you created your water board, it didn't exist. Okay, so it sounds somewhat circular, but the reality is that you've been around so long that you predate what now you would have to do. Okay, so now if you appointed the utility board, or tried to do this, you certainly couldn't do it. But what I'm telling you is every time you had, it appears from your minutes and from the ordinance and from the way the state law was then and now, every time you had a water board meeting separate from your township meeting, it was, you always did it, public notice, and you followed the rules and everything. It was essentially a township meeting of the water board. So you were having two meetings when you could have probably had one.
It would be the same thing if we were to split up our senior fund on a different night.
Right.
town
That's
fund on
absolutely,
one
Ron,
night,
that's an excellent
general
example. So you took any one of your other agenda items and decided to have it on another night, and the same people were there, and the same people showed up, and the same notices were given, because you got to comply with the Open Meetings Act and so forth, you would be doing the same thing. That's why I truly don't believe that anybody's going to opine on that, because the law is the law. It's pretty straightforward. And you'd be asking them to make a factual determination that I don't think they're going to make. And I don't think it would be a good use of township funds to simply file what would be essentially a declaratory judgment action in court to say to a judge, this is what we've been doing. Is this the right way to be doing it? A judge is going to say, that's a policy decision. Courts don't make policy decisions. So you get the same reaction from the court.
And you need it.
If somebody wanted to challenge one of your ordinances, they could challenge the process. They could say that you acted in an arbitrary and capricious manner. But in the absence of that, the judge is never going to supplant a judicial determination for your opinion with regard to policy. Okay? Courts don't do that. So, in the end, I do not think it would be a good use of township funds. And for this
Same
purpose,
answer, I think?
I do.
Not gonna make it.
And you also have to have a party in interest that's opposed to you, and really you don't. You can't really sue yourself.
Right.
And for the purposes of this engagement, what you're talking about is the work that, because there's a township attorney, okay, that you have that represents you, come to your meetings or when you need them and so forth. We've done the water department work for you, which is not uncommon. For instance, at Joliet Township High School, there's an attorney that represents the high school district that does kind of the school issues, disciplinary hearings and things like that. And then our firm does the business work. Our firm represents Joliet Township High School with respect to the tax appeals and any other business stuff like this that we do. So it's not uncommon, but this would ostensibly be a somewhat limited engagement because basically what we do is take you through the process of rolling the water department into the regular township meeting, number one. And number two, defining whether or not and how you should divest yourself of the water department if you can. And then that would probably be the unless you retain this for something else.
All right.
And I would probably be working with your regular township attorney on that because obviously the township attorney would have an opinion on that as well.
Sure. I would just, move forward, but I think if you can, not that they will, ask the state's attorney since they did not.
I will, yeah.
See if they would,
make an opinion.
or send something to the attorney
Actually, I've
general.
already had, Chris is already preparing the letter. Remember I asked you to prepare a letter to go to the Attorney General's office with a copy of the opinion of the state's attorney and ask him for an opinion.
It might be easier just to see if the state's attorney will contact them, because under my understanding that if the attorney general doesn't hear from them, then, they're not going to answer us, you know what I'm saying? It's got to come from the state's attorney.
That thing I don't know. I don't know. I've only had one instance where the Attorney General issued an advisory opinion, and it was a direct request to the Attorney General from the group that we were with. It was a school entity.
Okay.
And I don't know, that dealt with more school law, administrative law than this kind of thing, so maybe that's why. I don't know that.
Yeah, well, I know we reached out to them, and they said, go to your state's attorney, and now that the state's attorney didn't provide anything, they said, well, if the state's attorney contacts them, they'll look at it, not necessarily give us an opinion, but, that's who it's got to come from.
Sure, that could very well be. I can see that happening.
Okay.
All right. Everybody good? Any other? Well, I make the motion.
But I think still, Dean, we want a letter stating.
Well, I don't know, like I said, I guess
Right?
once we hire them,
Once
we
we
can.
get an attorney, but
Right.
right now we don't have an attorney.
Right. Just state that we are legally, we can sit on that board.
Sure.
All right. Anybody want to make a second?
I'll make the second.
I have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call, please?
Ron Bellito,
Yes.
Barb Boyce.
Yes.
Dean Morley.
Yes.
Motion
All
carries.
right. Carl?
Any other questions, guys?
Well, we're going to move on to the next state part of the meeting here, and I'm going to ask you for your advice since you're our attorney now. And the next part is appointment of board members. We have two that resigned.
Right.
Is it your opinion, or how do you guys feel about, do we appoint two new people since they resigned temporarily until we get this all figured out, so we're back to a 5-person board to make the decisions? Or should we just stay as a 3-person board until this is all worked out and find out that if they have to be back on since they are township trustees?
Honestly, I think it does warrant some discussion from the perspective of, the historical analysis that we've done essentially says your township board has been your water department board. So I don't know that, Ron, that we need to appoint anybody, quite frankly, because they're the two board members that you have that were elected to the township board are still serving on the township board unless you or the township attorney is going to take the opinion that that resignation is a resignation from the township board, which I don't think it was meant to be.
No, it wasn't. Just
So, yeah, right now, consistent with our discussion, what I would say is you don't need to appoint two more members. You're effectively going to be moving your water department items onto the agenda of the township board and moving forward.
But I can almost foresee them saying, once we have it on Monday night, regular meeting, along with the rest of the meeting, they're going to say, I'm not involved with water because it says, this law says I can't be on it.
Well, and that's a position that they can take.
You're right.
And, you know, I don't know, we can't address that until they do it. But if you're putting it, if their objection is, I don't want to be on the utility board because I'm an elected official, and the board and the decisions, or the department and the decisions are brought back to the township board, which they effectively have always been on the township board, and they don't want to make those decisions, that's their decision as a board member. You know, that's an individual decision that they make. It's still owned by the township board. It's still owned by the township, so the township still has to do it. And if they chose not to vote on it, that would be their choice.
Were we saying that, though eventually we're going to get to the point where like this utility board is going to be dissolved?
I want to be clear that when you say this utility board, your practice, based on your ordinance and what you've done for the last 4 years, it doesn't really, it's a distinction without a difference. It's a question of semantics. Do you need to have two meetings? You can still have two meetings. If you feel that there's enough work for the board to do and not clog up its regular board meeting with water issues, and you want to have them on a separate night, for instance, Plan Commission. Plan Commission meetings for municipalities are routinely held on a different night than board meetings because they take a long time. If you think you're going to have protracted discussions, then you schedule a meeting of your board relative to water. You put water on the agenda, and you have your board meetings, and you deal with the water issues separate from the regular board meetings. You can continue to do that, or you can have them all on the same agenda. But there doesn't seem to be any reason to, the semantics should not control what you're actually doing. Because what you've actually been doing for all these years is running the township, running the water department. Truthfully. So Dean, I don't think there's going to be a dissolution of any kind because there was really no creation of any kind. Correct.
Well, just like you said, we can have the seniors, you know.
Meeting, yeah.
You know, on a
The
different
bridge
night
doesn't have
also.
to be on the same night as the town. It's up to John Solinsky to decide when he wants to have his road and bridge meeting.
Correct.
His meeting. He's decided to do it on the same night because that's been the practice through all the years and it's convenient for everybody. We could do the same thing with the water board. We could do it at or the water department. We could have it on the same Monday night. And keep it that way.
That's right.
I-
Because in just, you know, first second, if you go back and you look at this, and I don't know if you have that ordinance, or if you have that ordinance from 1975, but there was actually, not only did the township and its ordinance set out the rates and everything else, but because of the creation of the district, the supervisor was actually given a slight addition to his compensation because he was running that portion of the department, and so because it was an added responsibility. And that's all set out under the township board. That has nothing to do with the utility board.
Which, by the way,
Yeah,
the township supervisor isn't getting that compensation that was stated in that ordinance.
yeah. So it's kind of an interesting,
No,
it's been an
no.
interesting historical analysis
Right.
over, you know, what amount to 4 administrations?
Yeah, it started out with Lori Adamson.
That's-
Yeah,
Murphy, currently, year 5.
And the
so
fifth.
5 administrations.
Wow.
And now it's your job to deal with it.
Now we gotta clean it up. Yep. And I think it's gonna be pretty easy to clean up, it sounds like.
The water department has always been
always
very
been the
well
water
attended,
department. And
it's
actually,
always
that's
been
pretty much,
servicing-
that's pretty much what the Supreme Court of Illinois said too.
Yeah.
Went to them.
It's always been servicing a very low socioeconomic area that but for the township water departement, you wouldn't have water. If you hadn't done what you did, they wouldn't have water. So while there is a lot of, interestingly enough, while there is a lot of fighting about how to do it and what to do, somehow, some way, what's been forgotten is the fact that you're servicing a whole group of people that if you didn't, wouldn't have water. So the altruistic purpose hasn't been lost.
So I guess on the second point here, I'm going to make a motion that we table the appointments of the other board members indefinitely. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Dean. Roll call.
Barb Lewis,
Yes.
Dean Riley,
Yes.
Ron Wood.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
So
is
is
there
this
anything else?
effective immediate, I mean, into our August meeting then, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you could have done it last week.
No, we don't even have to get any ordinances written up. We just,
Well, I think that we should go back. I mean, your 1975 ordinance is still on the books. And I did do some more research to see if there was anything else out there. I didn't come up with anything, but I'm going to finish that process per, Dean's question, which is legitimate, and kind of put that together for you. Because I think at this point, here it's 2017, we're dealing with documents from 1975. It would be valuable to say, by way of a timeline, in 1975, this is what happened. This is what happened in the 80s. This is what happened in the 90s. This is where you are today. This is what you should be doing going forward. And give you that opinion, not only to you as the board, but to your attorneys so they can review it. And then you guys are going to take action on that. Then we can deal with, okay, now what should we do with the system? And there's certain laws that govern that, and I'll work on that with you at your pleasure, and then we'll go from there.
I guess, like I indicated to you earlier, there are a lot of ancient records in the back that are, thick. I would ask that you would,
Chris and I have,
no, I'm even talking to the town clerk's side.
oh, I'm sure.
Town clerk's side. Back in, actually this started in the 60s, when this started, with Maury.
Great.
When I first got talking, they're all tagged in that book.
Sure.
The historical book.
Okay.
So I would ask them, when we get into it, if you want to come here and go in there and look and.
Well, that's what we'll have to do. That's what we'll have to do.
So, for sure. Okay, I have no other business then here
Can
tonight.
I ask one question?
Sure.
Are we going to have a July meeting on the fourth Monday of the month until this switches over, or wait till August?
Good question, I guess.
Yeah,
Should we
I
have
would
a-
until August. Unless you can, you would notice it up just like you would your regular township board meeting. You can. You certainly, you have plenty of time to notice it. Is that for the purpose of paying bills and, yeah, there'd be nothing wrong with that.
We have a June one, we have, and 2 weeks later, we have a.
So we have a July,
In
Or
July.
July, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, July, 1 month off.
I know.
So we really won't have any
July.
more water boards on that fourth Thursday. It'll be on the,
Yeah, and then 2 weeks later, you'll
I
have.
was going to have to
your
miss the August
Right.
water board meeting. I wanted to miss it. I was going to have to miss the August water board meeting, but we're not going to have it.
So we'll have July, and then August will be on our regular
And then
town
you have
meeting.
August, so 2 weeks later,
All right. I have nothing else unless there's anything else.
So you will still do the minutes and you'll be.
I know it's a lot
No?
to kind of comprehend, but we'll get it figured out and we'll move it on to Monday night.
So Jessica will just do the minutes for everything?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. She's the ex officio deputy clerk. We'll have to decipher how that goes, how that works. Anyway, we'll get through it, but I have nothing else. It's an adjournment.
Any other questions, Steve?
No, I'm good right now. I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's it. Thank you very much. Welcome.